So as we all know, the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming pretty soon. Bars! And the sales for Switch 2 might be lower than the previous console. However, with the fans that they got, they will go ahead and eat this shit up like a damn buffet. However, a question and debate has been going on in the gaming community, and that's Steam Deck or Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I've been doing a lot of research for the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch 2 to make this video, and I'm not even lying when I say this, Steam Deck is way more worth your money than a Nintendo Switch 2 will ever be. If you were to buy a Steam Deck, you would be losing $400, while as for Nintendo Switch 2, you would be losing $450. Now, the OLED, on the other hand, that costs $500, but even if we wanted to talk about that, we could still say the Nintendo Switch 2 is a more expensive option in the long run, seeing as the accessories cost to at least $80 to $70 to even $90. This includes the games, storage, SD card, the cameras and shit, and you even have to pay for online. And we can talk about pricing all day, but let's talk about the actual qualities that both of them have. Now, Nintendo Switch 2 runs better than the Steam Deck, which it should because it was made in 2025. Meanwhile, the Steam Deck was made in 2021 and the OLED was made in 2022. The Nintendo Switch 2 also has a mouse mode that you can do with the Joy-Cons and stuff, which I guess it's a nice feature, but then if you want to go to the actual games though, Nintendo usually has like at least 12,000 games on console, or at least that's how much the Switch 1 had. So that number will probably boost up to at least 16,000 or at least 20,000. Meanwhile, Steam will be accessed onto the Steam Deck, and Steam alone already has 100,000 games on there. And even if you didn't want to play Steam, you can play any single game that you can play on PC. This would also include emulators that let you play any single game from any single console. And don't worry, it's not piracy. As long as you're following the rules, as long as you actually own the game, you should be good. And what's funny enough is that because of emulation, Steam has more access to Nintendo games than any Nintendo console out there. Even more than the emulated games that were on Nintendo Switch Online, which, let's face it, doesn't have that many games in its library, so nah. And hey, I'm not telling you to not get a Switch 2. If you want to go ahead and do that, by all means, go ahead and buy a Switch 2. But from my research, the objective is that Steam Deck is superior. If Nintendo Switch 2 was just less restricting and actually let their players do whatever with their console, then they would have gotten my respect, but Steam Deck is just better, sorry.